Hello, welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy video. Something a little bit special today. This is a special release from Breaky Bottom that I found when I was ordering a mix case from Corney and Barrow, the wine merchant, made in honour of the Queen's Jubilee a few years ago, our former monarch Queen Elizabeth II, and 1952, of course, was the year of her coronation, so fittingly they produced a limited run of 1,952 bottles, and this is bottle 1,403. It says on their website they only have a few bottles left, so this may be my one and only time to try this. It's from the 2014 vintage from Breaky Bottom. They did, of course, release a couple of wines that I have featured before on the channel. This is a Pinot Noir Chardonnay blend, or more Chardonnay Pinot Noir blend. I think the Chardonnay is dominant, as is mostly the case at Breaky Bottom. So I'm imagining this is going to be close stylistically to the 2014 Michelle Moreau, which was the Cuvée name for the Chardonnay and Pinot wine released from that 2014 vintage. We don't have the exact grape breakdown here. I'm guessing it's probably still similar, sort of 70-ish% Chardonnay and the remainder Pinot Noir and Meunier. But I think the key difference here is the length of lees aging time. That 2014 Michelle Moreau, the sort of standard Pinot and Chardonnay release from 2014 from Breaky Bottom, was released in 2019 in the summer. I was there actually at Breaky Bottom when they were released. It would have been less than 5 years on the lees, whereas this special Jubilee version has had a huge 7 years on the lees. I'm interested to try this. I remember the Michelle Moreau being fantastic, really kind of lively, jubilant, joyous, a very celebratory wine, a fitting wine to celebrate a Jubilee. And so I imagine it's going to be a bit like this, but that extra bit of lees aging will probably give it a bit more complexity, more autolytic character. We'll hopefully get a bit more sort of brioche, bready kind of notes. Let's see what it's like. Although I'm in my back garden, I somehow feel it's inappropriate to sabrage this somehow. That would be a sort of Cromwellian thing to do for a wine made in honour of a monarch. So I will be opening it the sedate and normal way. It just arrived today. It's had, 3 hours in the fridge. Hopefully that's enough. It was relatively chilled on arrival actually as well. I think the delivery van, Corney and Barrow have their own fleet of delivery vans, and I think it was relatively cool even in the van. Possibly they have some sort of temperature monitored vans. Quite a deep gold colour, I would say. We've gone a bit beyond the usual pale gold colour, and that would suggest to me a higher percentage of Pinot than just the usual sort of 30-ish that are typical in these cuvées from Breaky Bottom, so perhaps I could have a higher percentage of Pinot, I'm not sure. I am getting straight away some brioche, slightly bread and butter pudding kind of version of I think there is a version of bread and butter pudding you can make with croissant or with some sort of French patisserie. I'm sure that's a thing. Yeah, somewhere in between something like brioche and something, some sort of traditional English cooked dessert, spotted dick, bread and butter pudding, something like that. But also with a decent dose of marmalade. This was something I remember picking out in the Michelle Moreau. The citrus character there was very orangey, and here it's like that, but a little bit more kind of condensed, preserved and aged. So yeah, it's going a little bit marmaladey. So we have brioche, spotted dick, marmalade. That is classic, trademark, beautiful, vivacious Breaky Bottom on the palate. Really filled with zing, but really elegant, not just searing acidity, really sort of refined, but really zingy, and really full of life, really fresh, energetic, poised. Is that a word I sometimes hear in wine reviews? Really, really mouth-watering. And it is really bright and really zingy, and yet again, the citrus character there, I feel like I'm getting something a little bit more orangey rather than lemony. There are these appealing bitter notes around the edges, and I think some of that might actually be autolytic complexity as well, something from that 7 years on the lees, which is an exceptionally long period of time for lees aging. Sort of dried fruit notes, but there's definitely no danger of this being flabby or overly sweet. It is really, really zingy, but the balance is also fantastic. There are definitely some slightly sweet sort of marmalade-y edges there, but also a really impressive citrus zing. And it's so crisp, very Moorish, very mouth-watering. Wow, that is a delight. It is, I think it is fairly similar to how I remember the Michelle Moreau being, but there's just this little bit of extra kind of depth and complexity and I suppose maturity, but it's not the price of the zinginess, the liveliness, the freshness. Somehow it's gained all of those things without losing some of the things you might think it might from a wine that has been aged for longer on the lees, had more time in contact with those dead yeast cells. Never sounds very appealing, does it? The sort of brown grey sludge where the yeast cells have killed themselves off by giving themselves alcohol poisoning effectively. But that's what autolysis is. You'd have to enjoy really acidic wines to enjoy this. Certainly somebody coming to English sparkling for the first time might initially be a little bit, surprised by the level of acidity there, the level of zing, but there's so much else going on there as well. It's got the breadiness, it's got the bitter complexity, it's got really great fruit expression, it's lively, it's exciting, it is genuinely celebratory, and yet also a wine you can really sort of sit and ponder over and enjoy finding all those interesting different notes in. That's lovely. Very, very impressed with that. It does have an extra something on top of that 2014 Michelle Moreau, which was already a fantastic wine, one of my favourites from Breaky Bottom. I think I should go and buy some more of this before it's gone for good. So cheers. Cheers to our late queen as well. Would have been nice to have had some of this actually in 2022. I didn't know it existed back then. This would have been a fantastic way to toast Her Majesty. Beautiful stuff. Cheers.